Episode 4 of E-Time. I don't know what he's doing, so I'm not paying attention. So, anyway, it is October 26th. It's been a week since AL4 dropped. We've seen some impact, we've seen some gameplays. We're hopefully going to get you a gameplay of our decks and deck profiles and let you judge us very hardly soon. But until then, we're going to talk about leaks and all that whatnot. And to start us off, Alex, let's talk about the week's leaks.
Alright, so I think whether it was or was not, we'll cover it again if it is. But first off, we're going to start with some Great Nature leaks. This one's going to be a grade 2, barcode 0. It is a 9k, grade 2 with 5k shield. And auto rearguard skill. When a card is put into your drop zone from your deck, this card unit gets power plus 5 until the end of turn. So just a quick note on this card. Since this was kind of leaked first, we didn't know exactly what this would be, because at the time we thought the Great Nature was going to keep its retire +4 draw mechanic, maybe deck changed a little bit. But as we're going to find out a little bit later, that is not true. And this card, it may be a common, but the effect and the way it works with the cards that we're going to talk about a little bit later can be very devastating, especially in an Excel clan. It gets the numbers that it needs, and it pushes for power, which is good for Excel. Yeah, and this is some extreme foreshadowing. None of us here saw what was coming.
No, like, it was a weird skill where we thought, oh, it's a common, maybe we're not going to even use it. This is very viable now.
So then we go on to a great...
Basically not long foreshadowing. We're literally going to show you why the card has that effect.
Yep.
Because we got...
Well, we can start off with the Gear Chronicle first and come to it.
Aww.
But fine, we'll go straight into it. We'll start off with the smaller ones and then work our way to the larger one. First thing, if you're a big premium fan, Great Nature got another G-Guard. It's not that great, in my opinion, just because when it's placed, all other units get -5 into power into the end of turn.
I think this is including yours and your opponents.
It is.
So I have no clue how
So
this
not
thing
only
works.
does it minus your opponents, but it minuses yours. So it literally does nothing other than just lower powers.
I mean, you can figure it out this way. If you are boosting something and then attacking and someone throws this down, yes, you are technically losing -5 on your Vanguard. And I think it's until the end of turn, like you're putting yourself in a rut. But at the same time, your opponent, if he's boosting a Rearguard or Vanguard, is in all technicality losing 10,000 power. Like that extra 5,000 power can come in handy. But that's only if they're boosting.
Yeah.
On the other hand, -5 to the entire field plus yourself. Yeah, my brain cannot comprehend how the hell this works.
It's
and
probably
how it's beneficial and what.
Great Nature has better G guards. You're probably never gonna see it.
Like the G guard that lets you replenish your hand after you use your guardians. Moving on.
Then we're gonna start with Monoculous Tiger, grade 1, and this is gonna feature Great Nature's new skill or mechanic into the game. It has auto Vanguard Rearguard. When it attacks or boosts a Rearguard, cost Soul Blast 1. Put the top card of your deck into your drop zone. And perform one of the following effects below depending on this card's type. If you sense a normal unit, your opponent cannot call Sentinel cards from his or her hand into the end of battle. If it's a trigger unit, your opponent cannot call cards other than trigger units from his or her hand until the end of that battle.
So this right here, and I'm going to just say this right now, the grade 2 and grade 3 that got leaked with it have almost the exact same effects in this way that it's triggered. Like, Great Nature just got its own unique mechanic. Top card of your deck to the graveyard, and depending on what kind of card it is what effect you're gonna get. And it's not one of those if it's a normal unit, it's a bad effect. If it's a trigger unit, it's a good effect. No, both effects are good.
So if you mill a normal unit, you get a good effect. If you mill a trigger unit, some of them you get a really good effect, and just to make up for the loss of the trigger.
You plus either way. Okay, I say plus, but you
benefit.
Benefit. And then if you count Barcode Zebra, every time you do this, and because that ability is an auto, it'll gain +5. So that thing will get bigger and bigger. Now let's go straight into the grade 2 that has a similar effect. When I say similar with the trigger normal units, Binoculars Tiger, our boy. And I'm going to say this right now. I think Binoculars Tiger is going to be the origin rare.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty much.
That is going to look beautiful, by the way. But Binoculars Tiger skill. Auto Vanguard Rearguard. When it attacks a Vanguard, cost Counterblast 1. Put the top card of your deck into your drop zone and perform one of the effects below depending on the card's type. So if you put a normal unit, you draw a card, which is good, especially for Excel. If it's a trigger unit, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and 3 units in your front row get 5,000 till the end of the turn. This is an Excel clan, mind you.
It's even
Both effects benefit something that Excel lacks.
Yeah, and it's even better is not only does it retire, you get to choose any rear guard to retire. So you can hit back row too, which is pretty good.
Those Pescadorians.
Mm-hmm. Or Mega Colony Stuns.
Either way, this card is amazing. It is a Counterblast 1, and we don't know if the Great Nature is going to get any other counter charge. But still, attacking with this, milling the top card, and depending on what the card is, it's either I'm going to minus my opponent and buff my units. For, like I said, for Excel, that's amazing. Or I'm just going to draw a card and replenish the unit that I just called. Like, having hand in Excel is very dangerous. Any player that tells you when they see an Excel player have a hand, not just to be able to guard and then even replenish or build more field, is very, very dangerous.
And segueing into having hand size, the grade 3 builds it even more. So let's read its effect.
Okay, before we just say the grade 3 and its effect, I want to state one thing with Neonectar. The reason Neonectar has great defense is because they can make an entire field with power without utilizing cards from their hand almost. Keeping hand, building up that hand, getting bigger, and for defense. Same thing applies with School Hunter Leopold.
So his skill is Continuous Vanguard. If you have a grade 3 in your soul, this unit's auto abilities activate 2 times. So basically you get his triggers twice. He has a standard effect as the new Great Nature is. When it's placed, you get to look at the top card and put it to the drop zone. And then depending on its effects, you get an effect. If it's a normal unit, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, call up to 2 grade 2 or less cards from among them to rear guard, and shuffle your deck. Yes. Trigger unit. This unit gets power plus 15,000 and an extra critical until the end of turn.
So let me put this in perspective. If you write it, if this is your first try, it's an on-play skill. So trigger right away, mill the top card. If for some reason you already put a barcode zebra, it'll get plus 5. So you already have a 14, if not a 24k attacker somewhere already.
Yes.
But, okay, not 24 because Excel 1 is basically zebra buff. But on place, you're either making a board by looking at the top 4 and then shuffling the rest back in the deck, so you're filtering out stuff, deck thinning. Or this thing is getting plus 15 in the critical, which is again dangerous. Now, if you ride him over a grade 3 and his auto abilities activate twice, you have 3 options. You either get a double normal units, which means you can pretty much call a full field 4 rear guards, grade 2 or less, fill up your board, and just keep your hand. You got defense and you got offense, plus you're filtering out cards from your deck. Or you get 2 trigger units, which is not as ideal, honestly. I would rather have normal units with his effect, but still having 30 plus K and triple critical.
So you're basically swinging 42 double critical and...
Triple.
Triple critical.
42 triple critical. Now, if your opponent doesn't have a protect marker or a sentinel in hand, that's either a lot of cards from their hand or a lot of damage.
And if you pair this up with the grade 1 skill, you can make it to where they can't even perfect guard.
Pretty much. And the best part about this skill is the third option. If you get a normal and a trigger unit, not only are you building your field and not utilizing your hand, your Vanguard is also dangerous, which is, in my opinion, the most optimal choice. Literally, this skill will be depending on the situation and who you're facing. If you're facing a Protect clan and you do 2 trigger units, unless you have that Great Nature, Grade 1 that says no Sentinels, Protect clans are just going to look at you, laugh, and say perfect guard, and okay, next. And then I go, of course, with the whole calling normal units out. If someone has a big hand, that's all fine and dandy, but it's like pokes. Like you have to build a power and threat at the same time, which for Excel clans, I think this can do.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty great if you can rush them early in, because if they're grade 2 and you rip the 15 in a crit.
I mean, this is the best part about this. All 3 of these skills from, I'm talking about grade 1 and grade 2 are Vanguard Rearguard. Now, you wouldn't necessarily want to do the grade 1 skill on Vanguard when you go, because you're milling the top card and you're either restricting your opponent to guard, which most of the time your opponent just going to say no guard, so that's useless. But I would do the grade 2 skill on Vanguard if I rode him. Like, Counterblast 1, if I put 2 more cards down, or if I put 2 more cards down, and then if I put a booster behind one of them, +5 is more than not a threshold you can get over when your opponent's a grade 2, and sometimes when your opponent's a grade 3, and it really depends on what cards are there. Like if you have the Barcode Zebra and a booster and you use this skill and you do check a trigger unit, that Barcode Zebra and the booster are definitely getting over any defensive triggers on grade 3 or grade 2. Plus, if it's on a normal unit, you're drawing a card. Like, there is no downside on using him on grade 2.
And that pretty much sums up the leaks for Great Nature. On to
Gear Chronicle.
Yeah. Interdimensional Dragon, Mystery Flare Dragon. It has been confirmed, so...
And we have the art. I'm going to pop it right here. I'm very much assuming this is going to be the VR. If the speculation we did last time about the guy being a triple rare and all that. Or this is going to be a triple rare, or this is going to be a triple rare. Either way, this is probably the grade 4.
Yeah, this is pretty 99% sure this is your grade 4.
Yeah.
Because it was just the main stride of the trial deck for the first time Gears came out.
Pretty much. But we did get a Gear Chronicle grade 3?
Yes. I actually think we got 2 of them.
Yeah, we did. So we got 2 Gear Chronicle grade 3s. The first one is Gun Guild Dragon. It has a auto Vanguard Rearguard. Excuse me. When it attacks a Vanguard, cost Counterblast 1, bind one of your other Rearguards, choose one of your opponent's Rearguards with a grade less than that card, and put it on the bottom of his or her deck. If he or she put into the deck, you draw a card. So you're minusing a unit on your board. Did I read that right? Yeah, bind one of your other rearguards. So you're minusing a unit on your board, but it's when it attacks. So you can do a booster or even an attacker. You're not that worried, but you're tucking something important of theirs back to the bottom of the deck. Now, depending on what clan you're playing against, that can either be good or bad. But either way, you're plussing a card back. So you're essentially getting 3 cards out of this. Now, it does have the force marker, thankfully. So it could be a good secondary grade 3 to use. But if you're stuck on this on Vanguard, you can do something. I'd rather not.
Yeah,
Opinion?
I mean, it's a great backup.
I mean, thankfully the skill is Vanguard Rearguard. So it's a really good backup. Same thing can almost be said with the second one. I'd say the second one would be played at 1 or 2 of, if played at all. Just because it's Grand Strike Dragon. And its skill is Continuous Vanguard Rearguard. During your turn, if the sum of grades of your units and face-up cards in your bind zone is 12 or more, this unit gets power 10,000. That's not that impressive, honestly.
I mean, if you have a full board and 6 cards in bind zone, magical Christmas land.
I mean, you just honestly, in retrospect, 12. You just need 4 grade 3s somewhere. Or some combination of 6 grade 2s, or there is enough combinations to make 12 easily. It's just...
You'd rather run the other grade 3.
Yeah, just for a 10,000 extra power in a Force clan, I guess. But at the same time, you can probably do more with other stuff. Like I said, if anybody runs it, I'd see it be ran at 1, maybe 2. Any more than that, I'd really question it.
Then the other one is a grade 1 prompt elite worker. Auto rear guard when placed from hand. Put the 1 card from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck. If you put a grade 3 or greater, and that's key greater,
Uh-huh.
cost Soul Blast 2 and draw a card.
This is very good. This is a utility. It's a common, and it's a very high cost because we don't know how much Gear Chronicles will soul charge or have a soul. But this is a very good utility. I played this just because the fact that it says grade 3 or greater. Like, we saw the grade 3 for Gear Chronicle, the main guy, we're assuming. His skill is, ride a grade 4 from your deck. And then at the end of turn, rewrite him from soul, which you retire to grade 4. So the grade 4 is going to be in your drop zone. This will put it back in the deck so you can do it next turn if you wanted to. Because I do believe the grade 3 skill is an act ability,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
So you can do this and then use this act skill and just bring the grade 4 back.
Pretty much. So you essentially, unless you're very unlucky and paranoid, you can essentially just run one grade 4. But the paranoid part I say is if that thing hits damage zone, you're like, shit.
Another Leek is another Great Nature card, grade 2. Idle Teacher.
I mean, it's a common, it's nothing special. Idle Teacher, Hatsune.
Basically, when it hits a Vanguard, counterblast 1, draw a card. Or Soul Blast 1, draw a card.
Quick show, quick talk, nothing special. It's a common, move on.
So here's where the internet's blowing up in Vanguard.
Very. This is going to be the last leaks, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this just because of the
interaction this has with the game.
This was pretty much a big bombshell just drop. Like, boom.
So, I'll start off with the grade 1. Bowstrings of Heaven and Earth, Artemis. Is auto rearguard.
Oh yeah, they're all. Oh, never mind. They are all Artemis.
Yes, they are. Is Argygen. Auto rearguard. When it attacks or boosts, you may put a card from your soul face down as a godly equip gauge to this unit.
You heard that, godly equip gauge.
So, yeah, this we never saw this one coming either. And then act rearguard cost counterblast 1 and discard a godly equip gauge that's equipped to this unit. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the same column as this unit and retire it.
Yep.
So basically, they got Tachikaze's equip gauge, but from the soul instead of the top of it.
Exactly. So we're gonna talk more about it. I want to go through all the cards first, like just get a perspective,
because it matters knowing everything in a whole than just reading it off.
So the grade 2 is Twilight Hunter Artemis, and its skill is auto rearguard. When an attack hits, you may put a card from your soul face down as a godly equip gauge for this unit. Ooh, excuse me. I can get my body. And then second skill is continuous rearguard. This unit gets 10,000 for each godly equip gauge to this unit.
Note, this is continuous, not just your turn. So this actually carries over to your opponent's turn.
Yeah, you're not hitting this thing.
Which means is aiming to pair it better with this card, Battle Deity of the Night Artemis.
Yep.
Continuous Vanguard. This is your triple or rare grade 3.
Triple rare. This is a triple rare, not the VR.
Yeah, and this is Continuous Vanguard. All of your units with godly equip gauges cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. They get power plus 5,000, and the trigger unit. And they get the trigger unit effects that were given to this unit.
Basically, what this means... read the second effect.
Yeah, we'll read the second effect and then we'll go over it. Its other skill is auto rearguard. When it's placed, you may put a card from your soul face down as a godly equip gauge to this unit. So, Genesis got a mini Ultima with protection.
And they stole... Okay, I say stole. They borrowed a mechanic from Tachikaze. Like...
I mean, judging from the roll-ins with Tachikaze, you knew other clans were going to get something kind of similar to it.
But the difference is like Tachikaze is only equipping from the top of the deck. Like, yes, I've just ran through all the cards in my head. No, I don't remember one that's equipping from anywhere else. Like, you can move them but not equip them. This thing, however, is equipping from Soul. And it's called Godly. Why is it called Godly? Just give me one good explanation. Why is it called Godly Crooked? You could have called it anything else.
Well, this is good and bad, though. Because, I mean, yes, you do have better selections. That means you don't have to blindly get rid of triggers. but at the same time, you are very limited in your resources.
Like, for right now, we haven't seen a lot of soul charge mechanics in Genesis for being revealed. So we don't know if they can keep up, if they can maintain the godly quick gauging as much as they have soul. Like, once you run out of soul, that's it. Rewriting is a thing, but it's only going to give you one godly quick gauge unless you can somehow soul charge. Now, this one's not going to be a problem in premium. We got too many cards that can soul charge in premium. We're talking just about standard right now. And knowing Genesis, they might get it, but with this getting revealed, they also might not get it. So we'll see what happens. But for the right now,
so the biggest thing about this is, I'm gonna guess it is a mini Ultima, which means that if you rip a crit, everything gets plus 10 in a crit. Anything that has a godly quick gauge, at least. So if you have, say, the grade 1 just behind Vanguard, that's your triggers turn into 20k triggers instead of 10k triggers.
Yep.
You can just say attack with Vanguard by itself, and even if your opponent says 2 to pass, just put everything on the Vanguard, and even if you only get 1 trigger, okay, so now your other rear guards get plus 10 in a crit, on top of the plus 5, so it's plus 15 in a crit.
Pretty much.
And then you don't take into effect, like, even the grade 2. So, say you have the grade 2, that's an extra 10,000 on top of that.
See, I do notice one problem, though. Okay, I say problem. Until we see all the Genesis cards and we see the VR. Like, for Tachi's, when they first were doing the equip gauges, we saw the VR right away. And we were like, okay, we don't have to worry about equip gauging because the VR does it. When the VR attacks in Tachi's, you can put any number of equip gauges to any number of rear guards. Like, that was, easy. This one, however, all the cards revealed technically equip themselves. Or, in the case of the grade 1, even the grade 1, all the cards equip themselves. There is no other card that equips another card with a godly quick gauge. So, unless the VR does it, or unless any other card does it, this will mean that these units by themselves can only do that, which is a big difference from Tachi's. You're not going to see like 5 gauges under one of these units like you see in Tachi's.
You're only going to see 1 gauge at a time, and maybe 2 at the grade 2, but...
See, but this is another thing. Like, this grade 3 is amazing, don't get me wrong. Yeah. There is one problem though. If you're not on it, your rear guards are very at danger, like, for example, against Shadows or Kagura. Like, if this is on your Vanguard, and you have the godly quick gauges on your rear guards and where they need to be, your units are safe from a tire. The grade 2 that's probably in the front has 10,000 power, 15,000 power actually, because the continuous from the grade 3 is still applying.
Yeah, so it's like a 25k by itself while your opponent's a grade.
So they're hard to get rid of, but if you're on this grade 3. Now, when the VR comes in, those are vulnerable now. And depending on what the VR does and other supports do, is really going to determine of how important you want those godly quick gauges to stay there and how detrimental to the game they are for you.
But judging the way like clans have gotten support and everything, usually the triple rare or the double rare grade 3 is just kind of like a backup. You don't really want to stay on it, but if you have to be on it, you're fine. This is the first time we've seen a backup grade 3 that you want to stay on. And that's kind of honestly a bit scary for the future of this clan, because we haven't even seen the VR, what it can even do. And if this is the power of just the backup.
And Genesis is a force clan by that.
Yeah, like, there's no telling where this thing's going to go with the VR. Like, this might just be a threat, because this thing can already kill you while your opponent's at grade 2. Like,
I mean, there is one thing though, just from these 3 cards, like the grade 1 is a retire mechanic for a counterblast. But you do get rid of the equip gauge, so unless you have 2 of them on her, it's really of, do I want to get this equip gauge get rid of it and lose the protection from the grade 3 or not?
Oh, well, that's the funny thing about this, because that's actually an on-tack skill too, so, or on boost. So actually, the skill for the grade 3 is continuous. So even if you equip the gauge during battle, they will still get the power buffs.
Well, yeah, I said that. I'm talking about the grade 1 skill, good sir. The retire power.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's an act ability.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can get rid of it and then in a combat get it back and get the power buffs.
Oh, true. Very true. But like the point I was trying to make, The point I was trying to make, just from these 3 cards, the Godly Quick Gauge is awesome. And it does provide protection. It's not a threat though. It's like, cool, you're retiring one of my units with the grade 1. Cool, the grade 2 is getting buff. Cool, the grade 3 is giving everything the trigger. Like, that's the only threat.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, this is a Force clan. So you can just keep stacking all those Force markers on Vanguard and making it to where, hey, are you going to take the crits from the Vanguard and then hope it don't rip a crit? And give it all to the other rear guards? Or are you going to perfect guard this Vanguard?
I mean, good sir, if this is on your Vanguard and you attack and your opponent says guard, you rip a crit, you put it on Vanguard just because everything else is going to get it.
Oh yeah, I'm saying that, but I'm saying like, do you say no guard when it's got like multiple Force triggers, or do you just try to perfect guard it and then hope?
I think this is going to be one of those, if you see this on grade 3 under your turn, you're going to have to guard it. You cannot take that risk because this is a Force clan. They don't have front triggers. They can run 8 critical triggers. It is way too much of a risk to not guard this thing. Them ripping a crit and everything else on their board still getting crit. This is a Force clan. They have big columns. This is very dangerous.
And especially if you're at grade 2 and they do this, because they rip a crit. That's 2 damage from Vanguard and then 2 damage from each rear guard. You're dead from 0. You go from 0 to dead in like that turn.
If you don't guard
it. If you can't, I mean, some people might not even have the power to guard it.
Pretty much.
Like,
get stuck with grade 3s in your hand.
15k on just say they have the grade 3 on rear guard. That's 28k.
Wait, what do you mean grade 3 on rear guard? Grade 3 skill is only Vanguard.
No, it has a rear guard.
It has a rear guard skill to gain a Godly Gauge, but her ability to protect everything is only on Vanguard.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if they have a Godly Equip gauge, it turns automatically into a 18k.
Well, yeah.
And then with the trigger, it turns into 28. That's 28k double critical while your opponent's at grade 2.
I mean, and most likely there's a Force marker underneath it.
Yeah, if they choose to put it there. So like it just can get like
it can get super. Like this is the threat. This grade 3 ripping triggers is a threat. Not ripping triggers is just big column numbers.
Oh, and speaking of threats, this is surprising because usually Force clans they maybe have like a late game threat. This is the first time you've seen a Force clan have like a serious early game threat.
I want to say I don't consider this an early game threat because it's too much luck based early game threat.
I mean, yeah, but if they rip a crit, they're gone.
Yes, dude, agreed. But exactly in that statement, if.
True. And that comes back down to the RNG of this card is, it really relies on triggers, and that might be where their VR shines more than this card.
Pretty much. When we see that VR, we're going to see a better image of what Genesis does. But as of now, we've seen Great Nature's main units. We've seen what Gear Chronicle is probably going to do. And we've seen the new mechanic of Genesis. Like, all these 3 things are singing to me. And I'm honestly considering of just buying a case or just buying playset. Basically building all 3 of them.
This is probably the most interesting booster to come out since like the reset.
Yeah. Like at first I was gonna build just Gear Chronicles. You remember me saying I'm definitely gonna build Gears. I don't care about Great Nature or Genesis. They're not my thing. I see these 2. Well,
this is the one set that it's probably brought the biggest changes to this game. Like,
I mean, honestly, if Genesis didn't have the Godly Quick Gauge, I wouldn't be looking at it. But I'm sorry, I love Tachikaze, and this is way too tempting. You know what?
Everything in this set is pretty tempting. And I'm hoping that this carries over with the high school booster. Like, I hope that like the Nubatama and Murakami, like I hope that all these clans get like something interesting on this level.
Oh, I want to hop in that topic a little bit real quick. What you just said, like, we just saw Genesis get a new mechanic called Godly Quick Gauge. Like, their old mechanic was always Soul Charge 3, Soul Blast 3, stuff like that, 3 standard criticals. The Minerva days and then Fenrir later and whatever. They just got a new mechanic. We saw Great Nature go from retire, draw, 4K, power, stuff, to going milk, top card, and depending on what it is, do a thing. New mechanic. And you can technically say Gear Chronicle 2 with their pseudo stride from deck. They still have their mechanic though, from bottoming cards to binding cards. They've pretty much combined all the Gear Chronicle mechanics we've ever seen into one.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, they're changing the fundamentals of some of these clans what they were in the past.
Oh, yeah.
So what are they gonna do for Murakami? Because if Murakami, it was literally just another Kagero, just a bit different.
Oh yeah, we talked about this in a previous episode.
Exactly.
Like they're gonna have there's great chance that they're gonna get some new places.
This confirms it even more.
Oh yeah.
And the same can be said for Nubatama.
I don't know about Nibatama.
I can see it happen. Just because they surprised us with Genesis and Great Nature.
I guess maybe. They might keep the discard from the old days.
True. Nubatama and Murakami are going to be fun when they get revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another card that's going to be fun when it gets revealed, and we don't know this, just there's a small chance, the leaders?
I was going to say that, Link Joker, honestly, at this point, might just be up in the air. We might not even have Delete, we might not even have Walk. Link Joker might just be something completely new at this point now, just because Genesis and Great Nature.
I'm gonna say this. Sorry.
Genesis and Great Nature were clans that we never thought they would change.
Nope.
They completed a complete curveball throw at us with these.
So I'm gonna say this outright. I didn't read the manga. I have no idea how the leaders are portrayed in the manga. I haven't watched the original anime. I've started around G era, so I have no clue. I've seen parts of the movie with the leaders in them, and from my recollection, and you fix me on this, or anybody watching this in the comments, you can fix me on this straight out. But I remember watching the movie. I don't remember in any instance Royal Paladin Aichi getting deleted. I remember the animation of that big deleter unit attacking Royal Paladins and it being a threat.
Oh, they got deleted.
They got deleted?
Mm-hmm.
Never mind.
They got deleted.
All this hype I've been building. That's my water boat.
Oh, this boat.
Yep. Anyway. But yeah, new mechanics for the future, stuff like that. Genesis. Wow. I want to say this though before we go to the next segment is after the Link Joker comes out, are we missing anything?
No, at that point, everything except for Token Rambu and Bermuda have been up to date. We'll more than likely get Bermuda after the Fukuhara High School Club with the leaders and the AL4 again.
Please don't do anything with Token Rambu. Just let that thing die. Any Token Rambu players out there, I'm sorry. Let that thing die, please.
I don't think we're going to see that. More than likely, the next thing we're going to get is another idle Bermuda booster, which is going to be a complete force booster.
Or an extra booster. We might get an extra booster for all the clans that are technically not character featured, like Tachikaze, Mega Colony for a while, Spike Brothers technically. Stuff like that.
I see Bermuda next. They want to finish every clan supported all the way up for that year. That way they can start going more to everything else getting second wave support.
So I want to talk about this real quick. Last episode we talked about the last episode of Vanguard and how when it's going to be airing, maybe next month, maybe next week, maybe next year, whatever. Well, ask and you will be answered, or ask and you shall receive, or whatever the saying is. There we go. But as of recording this, 17 hours ago, on the Cardfight Vanguard Facebook page, they just announced that the high school chapter starts from November. And they showed the staff that's going to be in there. They showed the cast and the voice actors and all that. I'm going to pop up an image right here. And yeah, I guess the Vanguard anime is continuing in November. We're going to see them in high school. We're going to see Misaki, the Gold Paladin chick, the Murakami guy, the Nubatama guy, and of course Aichi again, blushing yet more than ever.
Yeah, if you're watching this episode around the time we're probably going to air it, expect this weekend's episode to be more of a recap episode.
If there even is an episode.
There should be a recap episode, and then after this week's episode, we're probably going to go jumping right into the next arc, which is going to be this.
They take a break too, but either way, he's right. So yeah, and probably the last segment we're gonna cover, unless you got anything else, is the promised statistic that I got. Or what? Shit, papers over there. Boy, freeze.
Intermission.
Nope. I hate this man sometimes. I had a plan and he ruined it. Anyway, I did some number crunching. Like, you can probably do this. Okay, I'm going to say this right now. If anybody is really good with numbers and statistics and percentages and has the time to calculate all this precisely, go right ahead. Please leave it in the comments below. We'll look at it. We'll discuss it next time. But right here, right now, I did a very rough estimate. And basically what this is talking about percentages of decks showing up at regionals in Europe and USA. We only did Europe and USA just because of the Asia circuit has Japanese cards and they follow a different release schedule than us. Like, some of them are in Ultra Miracle, some of them had AL4 longer than us. Like, this right here is not including AL4. This is all the clans before AL4 with, though, the Shadow Paladin trial deck. So we see OTT, Kagero, Royal Paladin, Aquaforce, Dimension Police, Murakumo, Mare Colony. All those clans and the percentages produced. So what I did is I number crunched and got a rough estimate of what usually or what percentage the decks show up at tournaments. So, to just make this clear, this is a rough estimate. Again, fix me if you want to. I just did really rough and simple math. But what I found was through the Cardfan Vanguard Facebook page and all the percentages they got, because they only showed top 3. They showed the top 3 clans. So what I did is take the rest, did a little bit number crunching, and estimated roughly what the other clans would have shown up. And what I found was actually surprising and not surprising. Like, you ask anybody that's in standard right now and is following what's happening in tournaments or is going to tournaments or if wants to play a meta deck, what clan are you going to see the most? Alex?
OTT.
OTT. And with the number crunching and rough estimates I did, OTT will show up at tournaments 21.37% of the time. Now, that is a little bit over 1/5. Like 1/5 of the decks at a tournament will most likely be OTT. Now, that number can go up, that number can go down, most likely up. But still, that is 1/5 of all decks.
I expect 1 in every 5 people.
Like out of 500 participants, if you have 500 participants, 100 OTT decks would be there.
Yep.
Roughly. Like, that's insane. Now, following up, the second most common deck at tournaments that I, from my number crunching, found was Kagero. Like, Kagero was at 17.9%. That surprises and not surprises me at the same time. Like, I can understand why people want to play Kagero and why Kagero has been topping, or at least in the top 3. But at the same time, it's like, wow.
I have nothing really to say about that. Like, I honestly expected Aquaforce or some Excel clan to be there. Not that.
I mean, I guess the waterfall combo is very devastating, especially if most of the meta is filled with OTT.
True.
Anyway, moving on. Now, I'm going to just say this fun fact. Both OTT and Kagero, they showed up in the top 3 on every single one I've looked. Like, you always saw Kagero and OTT be in the top 3 clans most played. And then the third one be just random. Okay, random I say, but still, OTT and Kagero are always going to be flooded at tournaments. So prepare for those. Anyway, the third most popular deck at regional tournaments.
I am going to stop here and say this. This is before major results from Team AL4.
I already said that.
Oh, you did?
I said this is without AL4 concern. These are all tournaments before AL4. We're not cutting this. We're just showing. I'm going to put a clip right here where I say AL without AL4. Like, this right here is not including AL4. See? This man needs to listen. Anyway, the third most top deck. And if anybody finds this boring, just skip to the end. But either way, the third most top deck was actually Royal Paladin at 10% 0.69%. Like people play Royals. And I guess this, like I said, this are rough numbers. And some of these tournaments didn't even have Aqua Force support and such. So I can see Royal Paladin getting those numbers just because it was one of the first clans to be revealed for Standard.
No, it's a safe deck. I mean, you got hand, you got board. It's kind of a mid-range.
Exactly. Now the fourth deck mostly played at tournaments is Grand Blue at 8.75%, which is again not that surprising. It's been a while. It's been here for a while. It shows up here and there, so I can understand that. And then the fifth deck is Aqua Force, which I can understand. Like the Aqua Force, if you build it right, there are an Excel clan that can push very hard.
Yeah, I mean, they had that grade 2 game. You're not ready for it.
And there are a lot of Aqua Force fans. Aqua Force doesn't necessarily need a top for there to be a lot of Aqua Force players.
Yeah. The same goes for Shadows. Like there's a lot of Shadow fans that play it just because of Shadows.
Pretty much. Now, because of them just revealing the top 3, I couldn't get the right percentages for the rest of the clans just because we didn't know. So I divvied up and made it even for all of the else. So what I found roughly was that about 6% of all other clans showed up at tournaments. Depending on the tournament date and what set was out at the time, it goes up and down. But somewhere in between it. And you can imagine, and if you've been there, you can probably see it. You have a wide variety. But that's all the percentages, and I don't need to look at this anymore. It's bog on my head.
Yeah, hopefully soon we'll see results from newer regionals with Team L4.
I mean, just from Toronto, we already heard that Murakumo topped, and there weren't that many OTTs in the top 8. There were still Kagros though.
Yeah.
But with just that, we can see, an impact. But, like I said in the previous episode though, even though Murakumo was in the top 8 and it did win the thing, it's another, just a maybe surprise. Because in another tournament, I forgot which one, Male Colony got 2nd and 3rd. But ever since then, you haven't really seen Male Colony.
It just depends. People might adapt. You need to see more tournaments to really judge what the metagame's really affecting with it.
But one thing is for sure, everybody is playing way too much OTT.
Yeah, and the sad part is here in the next probably 3 months, you're going to see more support for OTT, and we're probably going to see more of it again.
And why did they give him a trial deck?
Maybe, hopefully, everything having support at that time will impact the meta overall,
I mean, okay. I'm going to be a little bit hypocritical. Why did OTT get a trial deck, and I'm going to get a trial deck with Link Joker? I guess. Anyway.
I mean, Murakami.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, seeing a trial deck in Murakami a little bit did surprise me. I mean, we did see Murakami trial decks in the past, like way beginning, but they were, Kai was on the box. I have no clue who this guy is.
Oh yeah, you're a different run for that. Oh, this is the guy that pretty much played Brawlers and Eradicators, so...
Yep. So that's that. You got anything else for us?
I'm pretty much good, you?
Well, like, a lot of stuff happened and didn't happen this week. Like, just seeing both Great Nature and Genesis in 1 week blew our minds like crazy.
Yeah, and hopefully, by this time, we're probably going to see more Gear Chronicle and probably VR for Genesis by then, hopefully.
Pretty much. Like, next week we're going to have more leaks for you, of course, like every week. And hopefully some news develops. I'm going to keep watching the Facebook page. I'm going to keep trying to see if tournaments, how it go. See if there's any more talk about AL4. But other than that, it looks like an easy week next week.
Yep.
So we're going to wrap this up. I've been Philip.
This is Alex.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.
Woo!
I'm hitting record. You better be ready.
Hey!